How many of you? 13. Brilliant.
We are! We are! We are!
สวัสดีครับ
สวัสดีค่ะ
Good evening and welcome to Thai PBS Special English News Program. With me is คุณวินิษฐาจิตกรี As usual, we will begin tonight with the latest update on the members of the white ball soccer teams and their coach. They are now reunited with their families, back in the arms of their families. And as we know, they still continue to be the talk of the town, despite the fact that they have been sort of in the news for the past almost more than three weeks now.
Yes, and they have spent last night home, the very first night at home after 18 days ordeal in the cave and 7 more days in hospital.
Yeah, they were discharged from Chiang Rai Hospital yesterday. And if you're still wondering what kind of state of health they are in, you need to take another look at the press conference they attended yesterday. And of course, we remember what they looked like and how they reacted to questions.
How active, how cheerful they were last night.
Yeah. They didn't shy away from questions.
Yes.
I mean, even though some of the questions could be considered to be sensitive, but they cheerfully answer all of the questions with laughter, with smiles, and so
sincerity.
Quite amazing that how quick these kids have been able to adjust themselves to the new environment after having spent almost 2 weeks being trapped inside that dark and flooded cave. And it looks like today, which is their first day back to normal life, was another day full of activities, right?
Yes, exactly. Since the morning, the members of the white ball soccer team, 12 of the children, and their coach this morning attended a traditional blessing ceremony at a local temple in Mae Sai district in Chiang Rai. This morning, a Lana style ceremony was conducted at Wat Phra That Doi Wao by 12 monks. This event this morning included a prominent monk from neighboring Myanmar who came to bless the young survivors of the Tham Luang cave saga with good fortunes and longevity. Meanwhile, apart from the blessing ceremony this morning to pray for good luck, the wild boar team member who were rescued from Tham Luang also planned to enter monkhood as a tribute to former Petty Officer Saman on July 24th. While meanwhile, another 9 soldiers also entered monkhood this morning as a dedication to former Petty Officer Saman Gunan, who lost his life while taking part in the operation to rescue the 13 out of the cave. Today, the ordination ceremony of the 9 soldiers was held in Chiang Rai's Mae Sai district as well. A large number of people have turned up at the temple to attend the ordination ceremony, which was performed by Phra Kru Ba Seng La, the abbot of the temple in Tha Khilek of Myanmar. Now we have to wait and see on July 24th, where 13 of the white boar team members will enter into monkhood.
It's a traditional for Thai men to enter monkhood at a certain age. But in this case, I think probably it's special because the young boys want to enter monkhood as a tribute, as a dedication to ex-Navy SEAL Kun Saman Gunan, who lost his life in the course of the rescue mission 2 weeks ago.
So in the case of Coach Ek, he was the oldest one in the group. He reportedly prepared to be in monkhood for 3 months. while the other 10 members will be ordained as novice monk for 9 days.
But only 10 of them will enter monkhood because the other two, one of them is Muslim and the other is a Christian.
Yes.
All right. So let's wait for another big occasion when I'm sure that the media will have another major coverage of that particular ceremony. In fact, against advice by doctors and psychiatrists, some media outlets still continue to hound these young soccer players. Last night, there were complaints that some journalists, stalk, at some of the homes of the homes of some of the boys and the families.
Despite the request from doctors and psychiatrists for the boys to avoid journalists for at least 1 month. Still,
yeah, we hope that the media will leave them in peace and keep a distance from them as advised by the doctors and psychiatrists. Tonight we have a special news documentary. It's a documentary that will take you back to the 17 days that gripped the world as rescue teams were trying frantically to save the lives of 12 boys and their coach trapped in the Tham Luang cave. The documentary will take you back to revisit the suspense, anxiety, and uncertainties surrounding the rescue missions, which was described as probably a high profile and one of the world's most dramatic rescue missions. We call the documentary 222 Hours of Life Mission. A 28-minute Facebook Live video by Ekapol Jantawong or Coach Ek on the morning of 23rd of June was the last thing that was heard from the White Balls youth soccer team. The 11 bicycles and a motorbike found at the entrance of Tham Luang Cave the same afternoon was a telling sign that something was wrong. The mother of one of the young footballers recalled talking to him on the phone before he disappeared. But somehow she was certain he and his teammates had all gone into the cave. She checked with her neighbors and was told none of the kids was at home either. More clues indicated that the party was most likely had gone into Tham Luang Cave. A search was finally launched at 8 p.m., involving 5 teams of rescuers and divers. But as dawn broke, there were no signs of the missing 13. But shoes and bags found abandoned at about 2 kilometers deep into the cave gave rise to hope that the rescue teams were going the right direction. By then, it had dawned on the fatigued rescuers that the task before them was going to be more challenging than they expected, as the floodwater in the cave began to rise. And for the families of the young soccer players, it was only the beginning of a long, anxious wait. We are reporting from the entrance of Tham Luang Cave, Chiang Rai. Thai PBS continues our coverage of the search for the 13 missing wild boars. Their families have been camping out at the tent provided by local authorities to wait for the latest news from the search team.
ทางญาติผู้สูญหายนะครับที่พวกเขายังคงขอปักหลักรอที่นี่นะครับ
One of the biggest challenges is water. The water level may rise again because of the rain. Now, I'm trying to go up to the entrance of the cave. I'm not sure if there is any signal here. If there's no signal, tell me. I will walk down again. It is reported that at around 1:30 a.m., the Thai Navy SEALs will arrive. There will be a briefing for a preliminary survey before entering the area. If they can enter or dive into the area, it will be done immediately. There's an order from the central command of the mission that they want to finish the mission tonight. We need to closely follow the situation to see if they can find the missing 13 wild boars tonight. But as things turn out, they were too optimistic. The mission got more complicated and would take almost 3 weeks before it ended. Right after the 13 wild boars team members disappear into the cave, all resources available, both local and international, were mobilized to find and rescue them. All roads seem to be heading for the cave. The search plan includes diving into the cave and climbing the mountain to find an opening from the top for an alternative entrance into the cave. 2 drilling operations were successful. Water is being drained. Geologists have found ways to drain water from the cave. The US Army has been trying to use real-time 3D satellite scanning to locate human movements in the cave. One university is preparing to send in the robot capable of exploring underwater and in muddy water. What captivated the world was the outpouring of support in all forms. Volunteers and experts from across the country and from outside poured into Chiang Rai to help with the rescue operation. The murky water and the treacherous passageways in the cave were among the biggest obstacles to the rescue work. Even members of the SEAL, the country's toughest warriors, apparently were not prepared for what awaited them.
จะขึ้นเนี่ยยาก
It was Vern Unsworth, a British cave explorer who had visited Tham Luang Cave before, and Martin Ellis, who had drawn up a map of the cave, who rang the alarm bell. They knew at that very moment that the job could be handled only by cave diving experts. Time is running out, Unsworth said in a letter to General Anupong Phao-Jinda, the Interior Minister, who had the final say in the rescue operation. Unsworth listed 3 names that represented the best cave divers in the world. He suggested that Thai authorities seek help from the British Embassy in Bangkok to reach them. As the clock was ticking, 3 cave divers, John Wallenthan, Richard Stanson, and Robert Harper, arrived at Tham Luang on the night of June 27 and wasted no time in getting down to work with the Thai SEALs. Waiting anxiously outside the cave were some of the families of the wild boars. Others followed the rescue mission from television at home.
This is nerve-wracking. The more we see rain, the more depressed we are. The biggest concern is uncertainty, even though the authorities keep telling us that everything will be fine. We just cannot help imagine what would happen to the boy if the cave become totally flooded.
This woman still remembers how she felt the moment she learned that her 14-year-old nephew, Pratjak Sutham, was one of the youngsters trapped in the cave.
คือความรู้สึกตอนนั้น
It was already dark when we know what happened. No's grandmother informed me that her grandson was stuck in the flood. We didn't know then that the boy and his friends went in the cave. We misunderstood that they were stuck in a flash flood. I asked in a line group chat if there were flash flood in Ban Chong and if there were kids stuck in there.
But on the 10th day of the search, and to the relief of the whole world, the 12 young soccer players and their coach were found safe and sound.
Yeah, best you can. Thank you. How many of you? 13. Brilliant. Yeah.
จากการรับรายงานล่าสุดจากหน่วยซีลที่เข้ามาใน
The latest report from the SEALs who went beyond the T-junction in the cave says they have reached Pattaya Beach. It turns out that Pattaya Beach was flooded, so they went 400 meters further to another high spot, and they found the 13 boys safe.
เราพบน้องทั้ง13 คนปลอดภัย
Yeah, best you can. Thank you. How many of you? 13. Brilliant. Yeah. เดี๋ยวบอกนะออกได้ก่อน Backpack is we going inside. No, not today. Not today. There's 2 of us. You have to die. We are coming. It's okay. It's okay. Many people are coming. Many people. We are the first. Many people come. What day? Tomorrow. No. What day is it? No, Monday. Okay, but 1 week and Monday. You have been here 10 days. 10 days. You are very strong. Very strong. Go up. Okay, go back. We come.
British cave explorer Vern Unsworth disclosed later on that it was John Wallington, whom he described as the world's best cave diver, who was the one talking to the wild boar boys. Wallington recalled that he was at the end of the rope and had to come up to the surface, and what he saw were 13 pairs of eyes staring at him. If his rope was 15 feet shorter, he would have faced darkness and forced to return to chamber 3 to start all over again, and the kids would have to wait longer.
We are the first. Many people come.
When they decided to take an excursion into the cave, the boys intended to spend only an hour inside. That was why they did not bring along any foods or drinks. For 10 days, they survived by drinking water dripping from the cave walls. Under the guidance of their coach, the boys turned to meditation to keep themselves calm. They also learned to lay still to preserve energy, as advised by Ekapon Jantawong, the coach.
สวัสดีครับผมโน้ตครับสุขภาพดีครับสวัสดีครับผมชื่อโฟครับสุขภาพดีสวัสดีครับผมชื่อบิวครับสุขภาพดีครับสวัสดีครับผมชื่อดอมครับสุขภาพดีสวัสดีครับชื่อตั้งสุขภาพดีครับผมอายุ3 วันสุขภาพดีครับสวัสดีครับผมชื่อไนท์ครับสุขภาพดีครับชื่อนิกครับสุขภาพดีครับชื่อนะครับสุขภาพดีครับชื่อนิกครับสุขภาพดีครับน้อง13 คนมีอะไรอยากจะบอกกับแฟนๆผมด้วยโอเคแนะนำก่อนมีโทรด้วยไหม
ตอนที่เขาติดอยู่ในถ้ำเนี่ย
When the whiteboard team was still stuck in the cave, every rainfall alarms us. We were worried about flooding. What would they eat? I'm sure that my nephew didn't have anything to eat. We sleep on soft bed. What about my nephew? I was confused and didn't know what was going to happen.
จะรู้สึกยังไงจะเป็นยังไง
ครับผมขอให้เด็กปลอดภัยนะขอบคุณมากนะครับนี่เพลงซ้อม
The death of Petty Officer Saman Kunan, who lost consciousness while diving in support of the rescue operation on the night of July the 6th, underscore how dangerous the whole mission was. Saman Kunan, a 38-year-old ex-Navy SEAL who worked as a security guard at Suvarnabhumi International Airport, volunteered to transport air tanks needed for the rescue operation. He succumbed on his way back in his last journey.
หน่วยซิลของเราเนี่ยจำเป็นต้องเป็นทำหน้าที่เป็นเหมือนกับ
The SEALs unit served as a front unit, going into the cave with former SEAL members serving as support unit. Last night, Saman was responsible for taking the air tanks to rest stations along the route with other international divers. The conditions in the cave were tough. After finishing the task, on the way back, he lost consciousness. His diving buddy tried to revive him, but it was unsuccessful. He took him to chamber 3 and tried to revive him again. He remained unconscious. We took him to the hospital. We have to be in the water for 12 hours. We have not done this before. But this is our mission, and we have to complete it. We are not doing this on whims and with no plans. But we cannot wait, because the situation calls for it. At first we thought the boys we found could stay put in the cave for quite some time. But now, everything's changed. We are racing against time, so we have to do it now. Early signs that the rescue operation was going to take a quick turn were evident on the morning of July the 8th, when an order was issued for all the media members to evacuate from areas around the entrance of the cave to a spot 5 kilometers away. By that time, the boys had been in the cave for 15 days. The threat of more monsoon rains and the declining level of oxygen in the cave were main factors forcing the hands of the rescue teams. Today, we are fully prepared. The D-Day for the operation already started at 10 a.m. 13 experienced divers went in to take the boys out, along with the help of 5 Thai Navy SEALs. They are clear on what to do and how to rescue the boys. They confirmed that the 13 boys are physically and mentally ready. All of them were determined and already know the mission. They are all ready to come out. They are ready to come out with the rescue team. Whatever obstacles they may face, they are ready for it. The moment that everybody was waiting for came at 10:18 a.m. on July the 8th. They expected the first boy to emerge from the cave at 9 p.m. It was a race against time and water. The amount of oxygen continued to decline, while the water level kept rising. As the best divers of the world and Thai SEALs battled the muddy water and rough terrains to try to bring out the boys, experts and volunteers continued to work non-stop outside the cave to divert the rainwater and block more water from flowing back into the cave. If we don't connect the pipes like this, water will go back into the cave and the boys will be stuck inside. We have to hurry and drain out the water as fast as possible so the boys can get out. Installing PVC pipes that stretch more than 100 meters in length on a steep mountain like Doi Pa Mi was certainly a big challenge. We need to have at least 15 people because of the rough surface. We have to wade through creeks, high and low grounds, and bamboo trees. We have to be extra careful, otherwise the volunteers would get themselves hurt. The most important thing now is to prevent the water from getting into the cave. We have to help the Navy SEALs and the international divers to do their job as smoothly as possible. But the problem is, pumping water from this point to this point is a race against time. At this point, the water level is just temporary. In the next 2 days, if the water level exceeds 7 to 80 centimeters, it will break the dike and water will flow faster into the cave. This will make things harder for the rescue team.
น้ำกำลังจะมาฤดูฝนของภาคเหนือกำลังจะมาแล้วฤดูฝนของภาคเหนือไม่ได้
Water
มา
is
แต่
coming.
ภาคกลางนะ
The rain season is coming. The flood in the north is not the same as in the central plains. It comes down like waterfall in masses. If the cave is full of water, where will the boys take refuge? Right now they are trapped in the 5 by 5 meter area and the drive space is getting smaller. How will they survive? Drilling to drain groundwater and pumping out water with large pumps were being done at the same time as blocking the water coming from north of the cave. This team of over 25 people were staying together in a small rented room. They were volunteers who paid their way with their own money from Samut Sakhon and Nakhon Pathom provinces. They arrived at Mae Sai, Chiang Rai with gigantic water pumps on June the 28th. Their daily task was to pump water out of Tham Luang Cave. All their 4 pumps worked around the clock, competing against time and the water levels that increased with fresh rainfalls. We cannot stop. If we stop, the water levels will rise. We have to control the water levels around the clock.
I'm away from home, away from my family, away from my wife and children. I miss them already. Even if I can talk to them through social media, I still miss them. But think about the feelings of the families whose boys are being stuck inside the cave. We are outside, we can do whatever we want. But the boys are trapped in the cave, and it is not easy to communicate with them. That is why everyone is volunteering, and they do not expect anything in return. While they try to control the water levels, the highly experienced international divers and Thai Navy SEALs were trying hard to extract the 13 wild boars out of the cave under the watchful eyes of the world.
อุปสรรคของเรามีอยู่2 อย่างหลักๆนะครับ
There are two main obstacles, water and time. These are the problems that we have been fighting against since day one. We must do everything that is possible. We cannot overcome nature and time. All we are asking is a fraction of a second to carry out the operation to get the boys out. And making sure that we are 100% ready and the boys will be 100% safe. It was the British divers who discovered the boys and who advised Thai authorities to invite Dr. Richard Harris, an Australian anesthetist and cave diver with more than 30 years of experience, to be part of this operation. And it was Dr. Harris who played a crucial role in assessing the physical and mental health of the 13 wild boars before giving the go-ahead for the journey out of the cave. The rescue mission required more than 200 oxygen tanks to be placed at a series of rest stations around the passageways. Each of the wild boars was made to wear a wetsuit and full face masks with an air hose that was connected to an air tank. Two experienced divers would dive in zero visibility to get the wild boars from Nen Nom Sao to Chamber 3, which was the first point where doctors were waiting. At that point, each wild boar would be put on a stretcher to be transported out of the cave. The area between Chamber 3 and 2 had a flooded deep trench. The rescuers had to use a pulley to carry each wild boar to go through it. Before reaching the entrance of the cave, each wild boar must pass 5 physical check-up points. Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha insisted that the wild boar boys were not anesthetized, but were given only anti-anxiety drugs so that they would not panic while on the way out. Getting each of the batches of the wild boars out of the cave took several hours. Of course, there were a lot of tensions around the cave areas. By this time, wild boars had become a code name for the boys. Nobody, even their parents, knew which one of them had been rescued already.
I wish that one of the 4 boys is my nephew. Not is our nephew. But actually, I want everyone to come out safely, including the rescue team.
By this time, white balls had become a code name for the boys. Nobody, even their parents, knew which one of them had been rescued already. Due to medical ethics, the disclosure of names will cause a sense of discomfort. The one who knows the names of the boys must be considerate and not hurt the feelings of the families of the boys who have not yet come out. The first white ball safely made it out of the cave at 5:40 p.m. on July 8th. On the first day, 4 white balls were extracted from the cave. The first operation took a total of 9 hours and 50 minutes. The next day, another 4 white balls were extracted. The second operation was 10 minutes less than the first day. July the 10th was the last day of the rescue operation. The last 5 white balls were extracted out of the Tham Luang cave. The last operation took about 9 hours. 222 hours were the total time for the white balls to be rescued. It started when the British divers and SEALs found them at Nen Nom Sao. The rescue mission involved 271 government and private agencies, and more than 4,500 people took part. Many of these people were foreigners from 27 countries. 47 international experts and divers play a key role in the mission. Narongsak Osotanakon, commander of the operation, called them International Dream Team. It was truly a global effort that turned an impossible mission into a mission accomplished.
So that was what the world's most dramatic rescue operation looked like, and we are glad that it has a very happy ending. And now we have a latest report from Japan on the aftermath of the major flooding there.
Following the worst flood that have hit Japan in 36 years, now many tourist attractions have seen fewer visitors, and entrepreneurs, especially in Hiroshima, has been inviting tourists to return to many of the important sites as they are not directly affected. Let's go to Kun Supaporn Eldridge, who has been following the situation in Hiroshima.
The atomic bomb dome is the symbol of peace in Hiroshima. The shell of this building survived the atomic bomb drop in World War II, but resulted in 70,000 deaths. Nowadays, visitors to Hiroshima have to stop by this important historic site. Hiroshima is one of the most damaged areas from the recent floods and landslides. Also, this area saw the most deaths in western Japan with more than 220 deaths. But the city of Hiroshima itself was not affected at all from this natural disaster.
We were already planning to come, but we just changed the days we came because of the flooding.
John Allen, a British tourist, said he made plans to visit Japan many months in advance. When he learned of floods and the landslides, he did not change his travel plans, only moved the days a little. He arrived in Hiroshima with no problems. He also said that Japan has good disaster management and the country can quickly recover. As for the heat wave and temperatures above 35 degrees Celsius in Hiroshima, this tourist said it was not an obstacle for him. They will go out early in the morning to visit the sites, then return to their hotel. Then, in the evening, they will go out again. Looking at the hotels around the atomic bomb dome, we saw that in the first 2 to 3 days of the disaster, this hotel saw a number of cancellations. But following the disaster, customers began to return, and this week bookings are at a normal level. Our news team traveled to Miyajima Island, another major tourist attraction in Hiroshima. This island was not affected by the flooding and landslides. The ferry to the island was nearly at capacity with tourists. On Miyajima Island, all activities, souvenir shops, restaurants, hotels, and rickshaws were open for business as usual.
今後人の数は少なくなっているように思いますね、かなり。
そうですね。
In Nagaki, a jinrikicha or rickshaw porter, a human pool cart on this island, said that after the floods and landslides, customers dropped by over half. He wants tourists to travel to Miyajima Island because it was not affected by the disaster. Travel to the island is as usual, and now that we are in the summer season, this attraction is very beautiful. Even though there is debris, branches, and garbage from the disaster, in the water surrounding the island, the beauty and mystery of the largest torii gate in Japan still stands to impress the tourists as ever. The torii gate was first built in the 11th century. Although the gate has worn over time and suffered damage by many natural disasters, it has been continuously restored by local craftsmen with skills handed down from generation to generation.
People here say the faith of the Japanese is more powerful than the destructive power of nature. Supaporn Eldridge, Thai PBS, reporting from Hiroshima Prefecture, Japan.
So thank you คุณสุภาพรค่ะ
And the adding to mystery are the heat waves that have hit the country, over the past 1 week.
There has been over 10,000 people hospitalized from the heat wave, and now over 14 deaths confirmed. So now we'll have to see how Japan will cope with the aftermath of the flood and the heat wave that has been following.
Okay, we wish them all the best. I think they have recovered from many natural disasters, and make sure that they are, with their resilience like this, they would be able to cope with this new natural phenomenon in the way that they have been doing.
Yes.
So wish them all the best. And you have been watching Thai PBS special English news program for the past 2 weeks. We started this news program primarily to keep you updated on the dramatic Tham Luang rescue operation. But now that the mission is over and it ended happily, and all the boys have gone home and are adjusting themselves to their normal lives. So we guess that we should wrap up this special program.
So thank you for watching us and has been following us for over 2 weeks.
Yeah, but the wrapping up of this program will be temporary. We will come back again in September with a brand new look and a more comprehensive news coverage. So until then, we thank you for watching us and good night for the time being. Goodbye. Thank you. Thank you. สวัสดีครับ
How many of you? 13. Brilliant.